What if I told you that most vision loss after 60 is not caused by aging? It is caused by a specific nutritional deficit that almost nobody addresses. And what if the coffee you drink every morning is blocking the one nutrient your eyes depend on most? Not because coffee is bad, because most people drink it wrong. There are two pigments that live inside the macula of your eye. The macula is the central part of the retina responsible for sharp central vision and fine detail. Those two pigments are called lutein and zeaxanthin. They act as the eye's internal sunscreen, filtering high-energy blue light before it damages the photoreceptors. They neutralize free radicals generated by constant light exposure every single day, and they are the primary protective factors against age-related macular degeneration. Macular degeneration is the leading cause of blindness in adults over 60 in the developed world. Researchers at Johns Hopkins have studied lutein and macular health for over 2 decades. Their work established a direct relationship between macular pigment optical density and vision loss risk. Adults with higher macular pigment showed significantly lower rates of macular degeneration progression. Adults with lower macular pigment showed the opposite, faster progression and higher risk. Macular pigment optical density is directly determined by how much lutein and zeaxanthin reach the macula. It is not fixed by genetics, it is nutritional, and it is addressable starting tomorrow morning. Hi, I am Dr. Mercer. I spent over 20 years studying ocular health and nutritional medicine in patients over 50. What I found when I looked carefully at the lutein research was genuinely surprising. The problem is not dietary intake alone. The problem is absorption. Most people consume some lutein through diet or supplements, but they absorb almost none of it because of how they consume it. Lutein and zeaxanthin are fat-soluble carotenoids. They require dietary fat to cross the intestinal wall and enter the bloodstream. Coffee consumed without fat provides no absorption vehicle for these nutrients. Even lutein from supplements taken without fat has dramatically reduced bioavailability. A study published in the Journal of Nutrition compared lutein absorption from eggs versus isolated supplements. Egg lutein, naturally embedded in yolk fat, showed 3 times higher serum levels than the same supplement dose without fat. 3 times, same nutrient, same dose. 3 times higher blood levels from the fat delivery vehicle alone. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what lutein and zeaxanthin do at the cellular level inside the macula. Why their depletion after 60 accelerates damage most people attribute to normal aging. The Johns Hopkins and peer-reviewed clinical evidence with exact study details. And the precise morning coffee protocol that triples lutein absorption using ingredients that cost under $1. We are going to cover 4 things. First, what the macula actually is and why lutein and zeaxanthin are the primary determinants of its long-term health. Second, why absorption is the missing link, and why your current morning routine may be blocking most of the lutein you are already consuming. Third, the Johns Hopkins and peer-reviewed evidence on macular pigment and vision protection with exact numbers. Fourth, the precise morning protocol, the fat source, the dose, the preparation, and the timing. CTA micro, 8 to 12%. Before we go further, take 2 seconds and check that you are subscribed. People watch multiple videos here and forget to subscribe. It costs nothing. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. This is where we open what your appointment never covered. Now let's start with what the macula actually is, because understanding its biology makes the protocol make sense. The macula is a small area at the center of the retina, approximately 5 millimeters in diameter. It contains the highest concentration of cone photoreceptors in the eye. These are the cells responsible for sharp central vision, color discrimination, and fine detail. When you read, recognize a face or thread a needle. That is the macula working. Inside the macula, lutein and zeaxanthin accumulate at concentrations far higher than anywhere else in the body. They are there because the macula is exposed to the highest levels of focused, high-energy light of any tissue. Lutein absorbs blue light before it reaches the photoreceptors beneath it. Zeaxanthin concentrates specifically at the fovea, the very center of the macula, providing the most precise protection. Without adequate lutein and zeaxanthin, the photoreceptors are exposed to oxidative damage from every hour of light. That damage accumulates over years and eventually manifests as blurred central vision and loss of fine detail. This is age-related macular degeneration. It affects more than 11 million Americans. And the research from Johns Hopkins clearly establishes that macular pigment is one of the strongest modifiable risk factors. Modifiable means it responds to nutrition. It can be changed starting with what you do tomorrow morning. A landmark study, the Age-Related Eye Disease Study 2, known as REDS-2, was funded by the National Eye Institute. It was conducted at multiple institutions, including Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. Researchers measured the effect of lutein and zeaxanthin supplementation in adults with intermediate macular degeneration. The group receiving lutein and zeaxanthin showed a 26% reduction in progression to advanced disease. 26% reduction in progression to blindness in a disease with no pharmaceutical cure. I want to be precise about framing here. This study was in adults with existing intermediate disease. The intervention was studying progression, not prevention. For healthy adults seeking to protect long-term vision, the evidence strongly supports maintaining adequate lutein and zeaxanthin. Prevention context. Modifiable risk factor reduction. That is the accurate framing of what the evidence supports. CTA principle, 18 to 24%. Before I explain the absorption mechanism, I need to tell you about two resources. The first is the Hidden Health Protocols, and I'm going to be direct about why this matters for your vision specifically. Every protocol I cover on this channel has a companion written guide in that resource. The complete lutein and zeaxanthin absorption protocol from today, the fat vehicle guide, the sourcing criteria, the timing, the macular pigment testing guide, what to ask your physician to measure and what the numbers mean for your risk, the full OREDS 2 supplement stack, explained with dosing tables, and the specific forms that absorb versus the ones that do not. 9 other evidence-based guides covering what your body is going through after 40, before small issues become serious diagnoses. This is not a summary of this video. It is a structured system built on the same research across this entire channel. The link is in the description and pinned comment right now. Do not close this video without clicking it. The second resource is the Advanced Longevity System, a deeper set of targeted health systems on the core drivers of aging. The complete ocular aging stack, how lutein connects to neurological protection and brain health, the retinal biomarker guide, advanced protocols for adults with existing macular changes who need to go further. Both resources exist because your appointment was never long enough to cover what you actually needed to know. Both links are in the description and pinned comment. Use them. Now, the absorption mechanism. This is the piece that changes everything. Lutein and zeaxanthin are carotenoids. Carotenoids are fat-soluble compounds. In eggs, one of the richest bioavailable sources of lutein, the lutein is naturally embedded in yolk lipids. Those lipids act as the delivery vehicle, carrying lutein through the intestinal wall into the lymphatic system. When you consume lutein from a supplement without a fat source, the absorption pathway is incomplete. The compound reaches the intestine, but has no fat vehicle to cross the intestinal lining into circulation. This is why the Journal of Nutrition study found 3 times higher absorption from eggs versus fat-free supplements. When you add fat to your morning coffee, through coconut oil, MCT oil, or a whole egg yolk blended in, you create that fat vehicle. Coffee's heat increases the solubility of fat-soluble compounds in dietary fat. Blending distributes fat droplets evenly through the liquid, creating carriers for lutein absorption. The combined effect, fat vehicle plus blending plus fasted morning state, produces the highest lutein absorption of any time of day. Fasted state matters because the fat in your coffee preparation becomes the primary absorption vehicle with no competing dietary fat. Stay with me because the protocol section explains the exact preparation that produces the clinical difference. If you made it this far, you already understand something most people will never hear from an eye doctor. Subscribe and share this with someone over 60 whose vision has been getting worse and was told it is just aging. The Hidden Health Protocols and the Advanced Longevity System have the complete vision protection stack in written form. Every dose, every citation, every sourcing detail, structured, so you never have to piece it together from a video. The link is in the description and pinned comment. Every month without this protocol is preventable macular exposure. Now stay with me. The protocol is where this becomes something you can start tomorrow morning. There are 2 effective options for creating the fat vehicle in your morning coffee preparation. Option 1, 1 whole egg yolk blended directly into the coffee. This delivers approximately 250 micrograms of lutein embedded in its natural yolk lipid delivery system. It also provides choline, a nutrient critical for liver health and brain function, alongside the lutein. The yolk lipids are the most bioavailable natural fat vehicle for lutein that exists in any food source. Option 2, 1 teaspoon of coconut oil or MCT oil, paired with a standardized lutein supplement of 10 milligrams daily. 10 milligrams is the dose used in most clinical studies showing macular pigment optical density improvement. The fat oil creates the absorption vehicle for the supplement's lutein and zeaxanthin compounds. Whichever option you choose, the preparation is identical and takes 15 seconds. Brew your morning coffee. Add your fat source, yolk or oil. If using the supplement route, open the capsule or add the soft gel directly to the preparation. Blend everything for 15 seconds using a frother or blender. The blending is not optional. Simply stirring leaves fat unmixed and dramatically reduces the absorption effect. Consume within the first hour of waking before eating anything. The OREDS 2 formulation, the most studied supplement stack for macular protection, it specifies 10 milligrams of lutein and 2 milligrams of zeaxanthin daily. Zeaxanthin is critical at the fovea, the center of the macula responsible for the sharpest vision. It cannot be synthesized from lutein. It must be consumed independently. When purchasing supplements, look for products that specify both lutein and zeaxanthin with these proportions on the label. A study published in Investigative Ophthalmology and Visual Science measured macular pigment in adults supplementing with 10 milligrams of lutein daily for 12 weeks. Macular pigment optical density showed statistically significant improvement by week 12 in the supplemented group. Participants also reported subjective improvements in contrast sensitivity and tolerance to glare and bright light. Both are functional markers of macular pigment density and indicators of photoreceptor protection improving. Now let me tell you what to expect week by week, because managing expectations determines whether people follow through. In weeks 2 through 3, most people notice reduced sensitivity to bright light and reduced glare in high contrast situations. This reflects early changes in macular pigment density as lutein begins accumulating in the macula. It is subtle. You may notice it when moving from a dim room to bright sunlight and experiencing less discomfort. In weeks 4 through 8, color contrast and fine detail clarity show subtle but measurable improvement. Adults who track vision with standardized contrast sensitivity tests typically see the clearest early changes in this window. At 12 weeks, which is the endpoint of the investigative ophthalmology study, macular pigment optical density is measurably higher. This is also the time frame at which the AREDS2 trial began showing clear divergence between supplemented and unsupplemented groups. The 12-week mark is when consistent daily protocol produces measurable structural change in the macula. At 6 months and beyond, the protective effect against oxidative damage accumulates significantly. For adults with no existing macular disease, this is when the long-term risk reduction trajectory becomes established. For adults with early or intermediate macular degeneration, 6 months of consistent protocol is when the most meaningful clinical data emerges. Safety notes. Lutein and zeaxanthin supplements are very well tolerated in healthy adults at studied doses. No significant adverse effects have been reported at 10 milligrams of lutein and 2 milligrams of zeaxanthin daily. The egg yolk option adds dietary cholesterol. For most healthy adults, dietary cholesterol from eggs does not significantly impact cardiovascular risk markers. If your physician has specifically advised you to limit dietary cholesterol, use the oil and supplement option instead. The coconut oil and MCT oil additions do not interact with blood thinners or cardiovascular medications. If you have known gallbladder disease, consult your physician before significantly increasing dietary fat intake. This protocol is among the safest in this entire series for the vast majority of healthy adults over 60. One additional point on food sources worth knowing. Beyond eggs, the highest food sources of lutein and zeaxanthin are dark leafy greens, kale, spinach, and collard greens. 1 cup of cooked kale provides approximately 20 milligrams of lutein, the highest of any food. However, food source lutein still requires fat for absorption. Eating kale in a dry salad without olive oil or fat dressing produces significantly lower absorption than the same kale with fat. The fat delivery principle applies to every source, not just supplements and eggs. This is why incorporating fat into every lutein-containing meal amplifies the protective effect throughout the day. The morning coffee protocol is the most reliable and consistent delivery method because it happens every day at the same time without requiring meal planning. Now, the complete picture of what this protocol accomplishes when implemented consistently over months. You're increasing the macular pigment density that filters damaging blue light before it reaches your photoreceptors. You are providing the antioxidant capacity that neutralizes the free radicals generated by daily light exposure. You are building the molecular protection that the AREDS2 trial demonstrated reduces macular degeneration progression by 26%. And you're doing it with a $1 daily investment that takes 15 seconds and delivers the highest bioavailability of any delivery method studied. 11 million Americans have age-related macular degeneration. Most of them were not born with it. Most of them spent decades unknowingly depleting the protective pigment in their macula, not because they were careless, because nobody told them that lutein requires fat to absorb, that their fat-free morning coffee was blocking the absorption of the one nutrient their eyes needed most, that there was a $1 fix that takes 15 seconds every morning and is backed by decades of peer-reviewed research. The research is from Johns Hopkins, from the National Eye Institute, from the AREDS2 trial. Lutein and zeaxanthin work. The fat delivery method works. The morning coffee protocol is the most convenient implementation of both simultaneously. And the hidden health protocols is where this protocol lives in structured, written form with every dose, every citation, and every sourcing detail. If your vision matters, and if the people you love are over 60 and losing theirs, get that guide. The link is in the description and the pinned comment right now. It exists because your appointment was never long enough. The advanced longevity system goes even further. The complete ocular aging stack, how lutein connects to brain protection. The retinal biomarkers that measure your macular health before symptoms appear. Also in the description and pinned comment, both resources, both links, right now. Subscribe and give this video a like if this opens something for you. Share it with someone over 60 whose eye doctor told them there is nothing to do about early macular changes. There is something to do. It starts with 15 seconds tomorrow morning. In the next video, the blood test that measures lutein and zeaxanthin status directly. Most physicians never order it. I will give you the exact name and what your result means for long-term vision risk. Comment below. Have you noticed changes in your vision you have attributed to aging? I read every comment. Your questions shape what I research next. Keep investigating. See you in the next one. C.